the year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody, joined alongside my good friend and co-host Tony Sapita. And the Bears lose an absolute heartbreaker on Monday Night Football, 27-29. Ciaro Santos, literally, I thought it was going in. He gave it his all. It was an absolutely Justin Fields' best game by far. But before we dive into it, super quick, Stupid Car Tray, sponsor of the episode. We just want to talk sports this time. Bogle Me Now is the code. Buy one, get one free. Great holiday gift. We're just going into it. Tony, initial, just if you could describe the game, what happened?
It was the perfect Bears game because it was a 14-3 at halftime, and it was just like they kicked that sad field goal just to go from down 2 scores to go down 2 scores just so that they weren't shut out at halftime. They didn't have the balls to go for it, which obviously ended up making a difference in the game. And it was a totally different showing. They were like, oh well, we got to start trying. It's it's the fourth quarter. Maybe we should actually score a couple points. And of course, I wouldn't say too little, too late, because obviously they did take the lead. But the refs need to be investigated. That's a fact.
Yes.
That was unreal. And not to take away, we'll talk about it more. But the penalties, some of them were very, very earned by the Bears. That's for sure.
Robert Quinn,
were plenty that weren't.
Aiming right at you.
Absolutely. Obviously some of the false start penalties. We'll get into more of that, I'm sure. But overall, Justin Fields was awesome. I love Justin Fields with my whole entire heart. He didn't deserve that. That's all I got. They should have won.
Okay. And we're talking about the officials, okay? 12 penalties on the Bears for 115 yards, okay? Steelers had 5 penalties for 30 yards. And listen, there were some horrible penalties, like Bears did it to themselves, like too many men on the field. And here's the thing is that you didn't have Eddie Jackson. You didn't have Khalil Mack. You were throwing unrestricted free agent rookies out there. You were throwing guys that like no one's ever heard of out there. And they were holding their own. They held Pittsburgh to 281 yards, 280 yards. We'll get into that in a little bit, but oh my God, Robert Quinn, 3 neutral zone infraction calls, 2 on the final drive that helped put Pittsburgh in the lead. Unacceptable when you're making that much money. And he had a good game. He had 2 sacks, but those sacks are overshadowed by his penalties. And Travis Gibson too. 3 neutral zone infractions on the final drive of Pittsburgh's game. But also the penalty on our linebacker that was just called up, last name was Marsh. I'm sorry, I don't have it. I know I should, but Tony's going to grab it for me right now. But oh my God, the taunting penalty. All he did was stare at the Pittsburgh bench. He didn't say anything to anybody. All he did was look. There was no touch it. Do you guys name?
Cassius Marsh. Seemed like Cassius Clay.
So I don't know if anyone heard this, but he was a Steeler during the preseason. So, the little bit of bad blood, and he had the biggest sack of the game. That was not a taunting penalty, though. I just had to put that out there. That was horrendous. And the dude's a badass. I mean, like covered in tats, like got the blonde hair, like unbelievable. Was not his fault. That was BS. Called up from the practice squad. Just come on.
Yeah, the worst part about the taunting penalty, and yes, specifically, the one we just saw, but also in general, we've seen it a couple times on the Bears and a couple times around the league. I understand their point that they don't want you, mooning the crowd or whatever they're trying to take away. Anything like egregious or, over the line. But these are grown men out there. He's staring at more grown men out there in the most violent sport there is. Rugby, I know, has an argument, but it just doesn't make any sense. This is the no fun league. That's so fun. Are you kidding me? That's so fun. You sack the quarterback, the big, like you said,
you're supposed to get in the other team's head.
Arguably the biggest play of his life, and he stares at the other sideline, and they're like, "Oh, actually, it basically doesn't count because they get a first."
You're not allowed to look at me. You're not allowed to look at me. Your flag. Change the game.
Are we 12 out here? Is this youth football? No. It is infuriating.
That was the argument, because some Karen or group of Karens probably on a Facebook group, I hate the NFL. I don't want my son to play, but if he's going to watch, like, it needs to be safe. And they definitely made a big deal. Like, the NFL's like, we want kids to be better sports. No, you are a grown man. You have people paying hundreds, thousands of dollars for tickets. Yeah, I want to see someone get made fun of. Like, I'm sorry. That's just what it. Horrible call. Horrible call. We can talk about the refs all day. So let's go into what actually happened with the game. Bears offense, where has this been against a decent Pittsburgh defense? Bears had 414 yards, total yards after the penalties, 291 passing yards from Justin Fields, a touchdown and interception. Shout out to Fields. 136 rushing yards, 7.1 yards per play. 20 first downs, 4 for 12 on third down. 2 of them came in the second half. So they were 2 for 3 in the fourth quarter on third down. Huge. But time of possession, the Bears were on the field for 10 less minutes than the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they racked up almost twice as many yards. Bears defense too, but we'll go into the offense real fast. Tony, Justin Fields, man, way to step up in prime time. That is a confidence builder, and I'm very excited for this guy moving forward.
Absolutely. And I know we're not the only ones with this take, so I'm not gonna, make it seem like we're the smartest guys in the room. We are, but I'm not gonna make it sound like it. But like everyone's been saying, just give the guy time, and I don't mean to grow and develop. I mean time in the pocket, and they didn't at times. That's for sure. There were times where there were guys definitely right in his face, but we saw on the last couple drives when he had the time, and even if it was just enough time to kind of read the defensive line and see what they were doing, find the hole he needed to kind of roll out of. I mean, that touchdown throw was one of the greatest throws I've ever seen a Bears quarterback throw. In my lifetime, at least. I don't know, maybe going back to, I can't even think of another, whoever the other good Bears quarterback was. But I love this man to death. He didn't deserve us losing that game in his face like that. And it's not all on the Bears, like in general. It's the refs really. I don't want to blame the refs, but I mean,
it was the refs.
They screwed us. But then also Robert Quinn. This one hurts to lose more than that Cleveland Browns game because we got outworked. And yes, you can blame Matt Nagy for that, but that was a thorough butt whooping. This was in our grasp. It just slipped away.
Well, also the thing is that the Bears would have been 4-5. Like 4-5 looks way sexier than 3-6. There's no doubt about that. And I want to say this, and I hate to say it, but this is at the last 3 seasons, Matt Nagy has a losing streak of 4 games or more. How pathetic is that? And this guy is still a head coach. And the thing is, the McCaskey's to go, oh, what a great performance. You guys did so great. You get your week. And then we're going into the bye week. Like, fire the guy. Have your interim head coach take over, and you have 2 weeks to prepare. We're not talking about that right now. We'll definitely have an episode if that happens. But overall, the offense was cooking. I mean, Cole Kmet, almost 100 yards receiving. And, he had that super cool play where Justin Fields was just Joe Cool in the pocket. Like, you gave him time, and he was just standing there like, all right, who's open? And Kmet was like, sup, man? And they connected. So, Allen Robinson had a big day. Injury, though. Watch out for that. Allen Robinson did suffer an injury. Jimmy Graham was involved. I was just all about the offense. So, and if you notice, Tony, Bill Lazor that was him. This was like Matt Nagy was not doing anything because Matt Nagy knew that this game was his job. Potentially, if he interfered, look what happens. Bears put up over 400 yards on offense, and overall, Justin Fields does amazing. So, any last comments before we go to defense, Tony?
Hey, shout out to them for listening to my keys of the game. They use the tight ends. And I know we were getting on Cole Kmet a little bit, over the past couple of weeks because he had some drops. But I mean, his 5th target was, game 6. Yeah, I'm not surprised. He's not used to catching the ball, but obviously we used him. Jimmy Graham had a tough drop early in the game. But I fired off the tweet, #uncut Jimmy Graham after I cut him earlier in the game. That was a great catch for a touchdown. Or not for a touchdown. My apologies. That was a long gain, and it was good to see. It's good to see them finally using the guys they drafted Cole Kmet and that they spent way too much money on. That's a whole different story. So yeah, we go to the defense.
Well, so another thing is that I want to give Joel Abuniwe. By the way, I was the only guy that was able to pronounce his name at the entire night because I've been practicing. So shout out everybody who loves me to get the names right. They did not even pronounce it right on TV, but he saved the game on that special teams play. That was incredible. That hit to knock the ball out for DeAndre Houston Carson to go out and get it and run it in for a touchdown. I literally was like, oh my God, we're back. We're back. The game changed. And then Justin Fields cooks in the second half of the game. So shout out to Joel Abuniwe and DeAndre Houston Carson. But the defense, Roquan Smith was everywhere tonight. Total of 12 tackles, 6 were solo, 6 were combined. So total of 12 tackles with a sack. Unbelievable performance by him. Duke Shelley did also really well with 5 tackles. And then Robert Quinn. I Travis Gibson, how are you grown men on Monday Night Football, especially Robert Quinn? You know, Travis Gibson, fine. But in the neutral zone 3 times in one game, completely unacceptable. I was very bothered. Very bothered. And also, Akeem Hicks was out the entire second half with an ankle injury. We'll have more on that. But Tony, I thought the defense played really well. No Eddie Jackson, no Akeem Hicks, no Khalil Mack. I thought they did really, and no Alec Ogletree. That was a big loss too. Overall, defense did really well.
Yeah, especially because, they were playing against the refs sometimes, and then also themselves. Like you said, Robert Quinn, unacceptable. I mean, you're getting so much money, dude. He's a veteran. That's the worst part. Yeah, I know he's making a ton of money and everything, but he's been in the league for way too long to be. Even if he jumps off sides, like, wow, okay, Big Ben, he's got a good hard count, whatever. But the fact that I am sitting on the couch like, that guy's lined up off sides. That guy's like, I'm just like yelling it at my TV.
Yeah.
As soon as it snapped, you see the flag thrown. You're like, I thought I was going crazy. I thought the refs were somehow screwing us on that. And then it happened again. And I'm like, it's just Robert Quinn making the wrong decision. And that's insanity. That you can't let that happen. Roquan Smith, though, I think one of his best tackles of the game actually came on a kind of a play that didn't matter as much. They ended up getting the first down. It was like a 3rd and 1, whatever. They got the first down.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Absolutely creamed the guy. And
Chase
I think
Claypool, man, he creamed him.
That I feel like that set the tone, at least for the defense, and then the taunting and whatever, which I don't know, but overall a good game against a defense or an offense that I know Big Ben's old, I know he's slow, I know his arm's going, but I mean they definitely have weapons. Najee Harris is no joke. They really
no, he's good,
down,
right?
22 carries, 62 yards. Yeah, he had a touchdown. It was a nice play on that touchdown they scored. But I mean, 62 yards, holding them that. I'm content with how they played outside of the penalties and stuff like that.
So this is what I'm going to close out with. And Tony, I want to hear your thoughts on it. This is what seems to happen the last 3 seasons with the Chicago Bears. They enter the middle of the season like pretty below 500. And then the Bears get red hot in the second half. And hear me out. This second half it could change the direction of the season for the Chicago Bears. The confidence on offense. The line was doing really well. I know TJ Watt, or not TJ Watt. Was it TJ Watt? Mm-hmm. No, it was TJ Watt. Yeah. He had 3 sacks in that deflection, but that was it. They were holding everybody else. That was one of the best defensive guys in the league. And then the weekend before, you have Bosa being held up by Borum. So Borum, shout out to Larry Borum, just absolutely doing a fantastic job. But Justin Fields heating up with Allen Robinson, Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney. Now you have a 1-2 punch with David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. I wish they would have played Herbert more because he deserves it. But just hear me out. Matt Nagy always seems to do this because it makes him look really good that he was able to turn things around. Just fire the guy already. But I don't know. Like we did not lose this game. Like we go up as an L, but the Bears, in respect to the Steelers, stat-wise, everything, the Bears won this game. And I am very happy with how they played in the second half on Monday Night Football. When they showed that stat that the Steelers were 214-0 and tied when leading by 14 points in the fourth quarter at home, I was like, the Bears almost did it. They almost did it. So
I took a picture of that stat because that was one of those stats that you see, especially as a gambling man. I see those all the time where this team is 175 0-1 when like scoring first or something. You're just, oh no. And they did it again, but boy, did we okay. My last comment will be, we've been saying it, I think, all year. As long as Justin Fields progresses, that's what this year's about. And obviously we want to win games. Obviously, that's important. But Justin Fields took another huge step tonight. He absolutely did. And that, whether it's because of the offensive line, or whether it was more of his, getting more comfortable with the tight ends with Allen Robinson. They'll probably tell us more in like the pressers. But either way, he took a big step. And that's what I'm happy about. I know no moral victories, but I do agree with you that it was kind of a moral victory. If we're going to say it's a moral victory, it's a moral victory.
Moral victory. The Bears have a lot of contracts expiring after this year. So just hang on tight, folks. Like things could get really interesting. Yes, Tony.
Tevin Jenkins coming back soon too, it seems like. I know he was doing some warm-up exercises before the game. We got a bye week, like you said, a little extra time for Justin Fields to hone his craft with the ones, which he should have been doing in the offseason, but that's Matt Nagy's fault. But either way, I prediction for the rest of the season. No, screw that. We beat the Ravens. That's it. that's my prediction going forward.
One game at a time. So the Bears enter the bye week with 3-6. They're on a 4-game losing streak, but this was a moral
lose
win
next week.
Oh, there's no loss next week. There's no need to be frustrated. So I don't know. There's this weird feeling. I hate the Bears always do this. You're like, oh yeah, it's going to be fine next week. I really hope that this was a game changer. So Bears lose 29-27 in Pittsburgh. What a game. What a heart racer. Your Apple Watches were definitely saying, are you working out? But with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde, joined alongside Tony Speedo, and we'll see you guys next time.